Why, hello. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Arcane Muse Collective Twitch channel, YouTube channel. Back to my wee segment, Muse Mondays. I'm out of Palo Santo, which makes me sad. So I'm lighting this up, this thing here. Not a clue what it is. I don't know. Oh, I know where I got this. My dear friend Jess gave this to me. Brought this to a psilocybin journey that she facilitated for me. But I don't know what it is. So I'm just gonna light this up. This is my ritual when I start this segment. As I light up some smudge to welcome you, to ground yourself, to be present. Oh gosh. Got pieces of it falling everywhere. Anyways, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. I did need to take a break last week, honoring my cycle, my flow, my energy, my mood. And it was nice to have a little extra time to prepare this week's sermon. I'm going to dive in a moment. I'm not going to do a bunch of breath work today, just because I do have to pick up my children from school in about an hour. So I want to make this 45 minutes. So I'm going to do just a few deep breaths to ground us into today's, not lesson, but just food for thought. Food for thought. Today, finishing writing this piece, I became incredibly emotional. I did a lot of crying writing this, and who knows what's going to happen live on this show here. So we'll see what arises. But the topic of today, I think, is a bit of a tender spot for me, because it has to do with our bodies and our relationship to our body. And I think being a woman, probably nowadays more than ever in history, maybe, I don't know for sure, but the pressure on women to look a certain way, I know it's been there for some time, like hundreds of years for sure. And it's different in all different cultures, which I can appreciate. The culture I come from, especially being raised in the last, 35, 40 years, has been heavily focused on celebrities and people in the spotlight to be examples of what beauty is. And I think that in the last 100 years, there's been a big focus on artificial beauty in terms of, cosmetics, makeup. I mean, I'm one to talk, right? Like, I am a makeup artist by trade. My mom was in cosmetics my whole life. If it wasn't makeup, it was hair. And I've been a big proponent to the outside external beauty of the human form. And it's what I've built a business around and focused on for a good chunk of my life, even from childhood, like playing with makeup and doing makeovers on my friends. And it's always been something that I've been drawn to. And then entering the beauty world in my 20s as a profession, truly from the purest place of my heart, I genuinely love making people feel good about themselves, and making them feel beautiful in whatever way that shines through. And with the pressures on us as women to be beautiful and what standard of beauty is presented to us and fed to us our whole upbringing, if you're not sheltered from it, is an interesting conditioning to go through. I know men have it too, to a certain extent. I'm not saying that they don't, but there's a massive focus and a massive industry geared towards making women want to change their appearance and fit a mold of what is beautiful. So it brought a lot up for me, because there's still a lot of conditioning that I'm continuing to break free from. And although I believe that playing with our physical form is a way for our soul to be expressed in a healthy way, I'm never not gonna love, I think, dressing up and doing fun things with my makeup and my nails. I'll just show you these bad boys. Like, wow, right? My nail lady, who's a dear friend, I don't know if you can really see, those are flowers, hand painted like flowers on my nails. She did such a good job. Like, that's fun for me, right? It's just like, it's a form of art. I'm not doing my nails to fit a beauty standard. I like to have my nails done because it's a representation of care for myself, and more on that. We'll get deeper into this. Let's take a few breaths before I start my script. And here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna do 3 big breaths before I start, and you can join me if you'd like. I guess I will introduce myself. I always forget to do that. My name is Justine. I am part of a collective of women that go by the name Arcane Muse Collective right now, that are just inspired to share our gifts, our perspectives with whoever is meant to receive it. And we have a podcast called Goldcast. It's a live stream podcast that we've been doing for a few months now, where we talk about anything and everything related to conscious living, taboo subjects, the feminine, the masculine, relationships, holistic health, sound healing, divination, like all of the woo-woo and all of the things that I'm sure are reserved for people who are interested and intrigued by anything that is not mundane, anything that pushes the boundaries of life and experience and being a human. So we're taking a short break right now with Goldcast, but I have my weekly segment on Mondays called Muse Mondays, where I look at a feminine muse that inspires me. So again, welcome. My name's Justine, and I hope you enjoy. Let's take some breaths together. Okay. In. And out. In. And out. In. And out. Okay, I'm gonna launch this baby. I was gonna wear my glasses today because, God, I need glasses. But there's a huge glare from the window that you can see, so we're not. All right, buckle up, everybody. Here we go. Oh, I should adjust the speed on this so that it doesn't go too fast or too slow. We'll see. Bear with me. Hey, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Muse Monday, our sacred space where we remember what is real and release what never was. Let's slow it down. Sorry, guys. We have been studying and exploring my first muse, Mary Magdalene, and I hope you're enjoying learning about her life and legacy. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I'm doing a deep dive into the 7 powers mentioned in Mary's Gospel that keep the soul tethered to illusion. And today, we're looking at the 6th power, the compulsion of the flesh. This should come as no surprise, but you are not your body. And yet, for so many of us, the body becomes the beginning and end of who we think we are. It's easy to forget the aches, the curves, the beauty, the shame, the way the world responds to your body, the way it's been touched, violated, admired, shaped. All of it can make you believe that this must be you. But the truth is, your body is a sacred vessel, a temporary temple, a tool for translation through which your soul experiences space, time, and sensation. It holds value not because of how it looks or performs, but because of what it carries. Your heart, your spirit, your divine remembering. The 6th power in the Gospel of Mary is called the compulsion of the flesh, a force that convinces us we are the body, that pleasure or pain is the whole story, that our worth lies in form rather than in truth. But Mary's Gospel, like A Course in Miracles, reminds us the body is not your identity. It is a gateway, not a destination. We are in dire need to reclaim our relationship to our body, not as an idol to be worshipped or a prison to escape, but as a beautifully fleeting canvas for love, expression, and presence. This isn't a new idea. Throughout history, countless spiritual traditions and philosophies have recognized that we are not our bodies, but many of them responded by rejecting the body altogether, treating it as a trap, a mistake, or a source of sin. For centuries, spiritual seekers have grappled with the question, if I am not this body, how do I liberate myself from its hold? Many traditions answered with asceticism, a path of severe discipline, deprivation, and control meant to weaken the body's influence over the soul. In early Christian monasticism, saints and mystics fasted, whipped themselves, slept on stone floors, or wore hair shirts to punish the flesh and subdue its temptations. The body was seen as the battleground of sin, especially sexual desire, and to transcend it meant denying its needs. In ancient Gnostic sects, some believed the material world, including the body, was created by a false god, and that the true spirit must escape it. For them, salvation meant rejecting the body entirely and seeking union with pleroma, or divine fullness. In certain schools of Hinduism, yogis retreated from society and trained to overcome bodily urges, holding difficult postures for hours, renouncing comfort, even ceasing to speak, all in pursuit of liberation, moksha, from the cycle of death and rebirth. In Buddhism, particularly in Theravada traditions, the body is viewed as impermanent and unreliable. Monks meditate on the stages of bodily decay after death, not to disturb the soul, but to detach from illusion. The goal is to uproot attachment and reach nirvana, where even the sense of self dissolves. These practices arose from a deep understanding that the body is not the self, but in trying to escape the body, many lost the opportunity to love it, to live through it, and to let it serve. Mary's gospel and the mystical path it represents does something radically different. It names the illusion, the compulsion of the flesh, but it doesn't ask us to abandon the body. It asks us to reclaim it as a sacred vehicle of remembrance, a portal to honor and a space we call home while here in this world. While ancient traditions tried to escape the body, modern culture has gone to the other extreme. We idolize it. We don't worship spirit, we worship youth, beauty, fitness, and flawless skin, and more recently, women's asses. Our worth has been tied to our waistline, our success measured by our aesthetic. Entire industries profit from convincing us that our bodies are projects in need of constant improvement. This too is a distortion. Just as rejecting the body is a denial of its sacred function, obsessing over it is a denial of the soul within it. Both extremes, asceticism and vanity, distract us from the deeper truth that the body is not the self, but a symbol the mind uses either to remember love or reinforce fear. In A Course in Miracles, it says, "The body is a limit imposed on the universal communication that is an eternal property of the mind. We came here to remember the limitless, to let the body serve as a communication device, a temple of devotion, and a vessel for spirit to move through. Not something to fixate on, fear, or abandon. Death, in truth, is not the end. It is a return. The body, being temporary, dissolves. The spirit, being eternal, remembers itself and comes back into union with God, whether you like it or not." All the illusions we've carried in our little lives here, the belief that we were this skin, this gender, this age, this illness, this disability, this pain, this beauty, they fall away in an instant. And what remains is what was always real: our light, our essence, our love, our soul. The Gospel of Mary hints at this return when the soul says to the powers that try to bind it, "I was not recognized, but I have recognized that the all is being dissolved, both the things of earth and those of heaven." The soul doesn't fear the body's death. It welcomes the release from illusion. In A Course in Miracles, it goes even further. Death is the central dream from which all illusions stem. It is the one idea which underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. The body's death is not the end of us. It is the unraveling of a dream. And in that unraveling, the spirit expands, freed from limitation and returned to love. So where does this leave us? We're not here to reject the body. We're not here to obsess over it either. We're here to honor it, to love it as a sacred tool and temple that Spirit chose on purpose. Self-love doesn't mean glamorizing the body or getting stuck in its appearance. It means listening to it, nourishing it, letting it rest. It means thanking it for everything it carries: the grief, the wisdom, the joy, the children, the dances, the survival. It means choosing clothes that feel good on your skin, feeding yourself like someone you love, and touching your body with reverence, not critique. Caring for it like a garden that grows life and not a machine to be worked. To honor the body is to say, I know you are not all of me, but I love you for helping me remember who I am. That's true self-love. Not attachment or rejection, just devotion to the part of you that's allowing you to come home. You are allowed to love your body, regardless of its shape, to make it an ally, not an enemy, to hold it tenderly, not fearfully, to offer it reverence, not rejection. As I've come to understand the meaning of embodiment and how it actually feels to be in my body, the more I honor her, the more I want to love on her, the more I want to thank her for the wondrous things she does on a daily basis, most of it without my conscious effort. I look at my daughter and I ache because I know firsthand the pressure placed on women to look a certain way, to think that this radiant little girl might one day look at her body and not believe it's good enough, that she might measure her worth by the size of her butt, the flatness of her stomach, or the flawlessness of her skin. That breaks my heart into a million pieces. So I will never critique myself in front of her, even as I untangle the grip of my own conditioning, even as I soften the voice of my own inner critic and rewrite the stories I once believed about what it means to be beautiful. Because now I understand something deeper. The way I honor and care for my body in this lifetime is a living reflection of how I feel about myself, my soul, and my connection to God. Since my most recent awakening, the more I sink into my skin, the more present I become, the closer I feel to God and His brilliance. I know this path is not the same for everyone. I speak from a body that has not known extreme violence. I cannot pretend to understand what it means to want to flee from your body, to not feel safe inside of it. If this is your reality, I honor you, I see you, and I hold space for your healing. What I know now is this: the body is not the self, but it is sacred. It is a gift, and how we relate to it matters. I will be teaching my children this perspective. I imagine a world where we are so present with one another that all we do is sit in reverence for life, for love, for form. And lately, I feel I'm inching closer to that reality. I'm hyper aware of firsts and lasts, of aging, of all the impermanence, of looking into the mirror and seeing a face that no longer matches the agelessness of my soul, because the soul doesn't age the way the body does. And maybe that's the point, to witness the passage of time on your face and in your skin, and know that this was just a temporary home anyway. The body will age, it will change, it will eventually return to the earth. But while we are here, breathing, touching, dancing, creating, may we remember to inhabit it fully, not because it defines us, but because it delivers us to presence, because it lets us taste life, because Spirit chose to enter form, and in doing so, made even the temporary holy. In John 6:3, Yeshua says, the Spirit gives life, the flesh counts for nothing. The words I have spoken to you, they are full of the Spirit and life. For those who have witnessed a soul transition or been in the presence of the shell left behind once the body dies, it becomes very clear that what made this person alive was more the soul than the body. I have 3 reflective questions for you this week. Number 1, in what ways have I either rejected or over-identified with my body? Number 2, what would it look like to honor my body without worshiping or abandoning it? And number 3, what messages about the body do I want to pass down or consciously release for future generations? I'm clapping for myself. 26 minutes. Good. Yeah, I'm going to read a little snippet from Mary Magdalene Revealed. Yeah, I've put a lot of pressure on myself over the course of my life to look perfect. I have an idea of what perfection looks like in my mind, and what would I have to do in order to become that. And this is coming from someone who doesn't struggle with weight gain, who I've always gotten a lot of attention for my looks. I grew up with a mom who got a lot of attention for her looks. It was constantly said, how youthful she looks and how beautiful she is, and how, oh my gosh, this must be your older sister. And that was a big narrative in my upbringing. It was, your mom is beautiful, your mom is very youthful looking, and therefore this is something that is worth more than the opposite. And I wouldn't say that my mom ever put pressure on me specifically to look a certain way, but I certainly remember hearing her talk about her body and not a positive way, even though she was beautiful, even though she got attention for being aesthetically beautiful, and what society deems to be beautiful. And growing up, there was a lot of focus for me on my looks and on makeup and the whole shebang, and being perceived as beautiful. And I mean, there are people in this world that you could look at and you could find physically beautiful, and you could think to yourself, how could they even spend a moment of their life looking themselves in the mirror and not thinking that they're absolutely aesthetically beautiful. But I think that it's something that we all struggle with, even if on the outside people are praising us for our looks. And with my own daughter, she's 6 right now, and looking at her little body and all of its perfection, and hello, hi Suki, and thinking that she could ever look at herself and think that she's not beautiful because, you know, her butt isn't a certain size, or her waist isn't, you know, she doesn't have this like perfect hourglass thing that, you know, women are contorting themselves and young girls are contorting themselves into being. And I think that there is this huge need for authentic beauty. And I've been victim to considering definitely injectables and Botox, and, you know, what if my lips were just a little bit bigger? And of course, I do what I can to age gracefully, because I feel like that is part of me loving on myself. Is if I want to age gracefully, I have the right to do that. And I don't think that as I age, my worth becomes less by any means. It's just more taking care of myself because it's part of my way of expressing self-love. And if I really think about our bodies and how little reverence we have for a body, not only our own often, but each other's as well, it can definitely conjure up a lot of anger and rage, and like, how dare you? How dare you make me feel bad about my body? How dare you violate my body? As a woman, there's a lot of vulnerability and susceptibility to having people make comments about our bodies, positive and negative. And when I think about the sickest perversion that our species suffers from, it all has to do with the body. And the fact that we aren't taught reverence for our bodies and for each other's bodies is a root problem of our species. I think that there needs to be a big focus going forward on teaching these younger generations about the body and the sacredness of it. I don't think that it is taught. I mean, I certainly wasn't taught about the sacredness of it. I was taught to take care of it, right? And protect it. But I think that if we start teaching our children to have that level of awareness and reverence for our own bodies, hopefully that translates into how we treat other people's bodies. And I just deeply, deeply appreciate our bodies and what they allow us to experience here and what they hold. And like, there's so much detail to a body, from the shape of it, like to the freckles, to the smell of it, to the little unique characteristics that we each have on our bodies. And as a mother, you obviously examine and you look at your babies and you learn every single piece of that body, and you just stare at it with complete awe for it's beautiful perfection, and that my body, along with the intelligence built into my body, and that I was gifted the responsibility to grow another body within my body. And then my body opened and ejected this other body out of it. And then you're looking at this body and smelling it. And if you become so hyper present with the meaning of that, it's just, it makes you cry. And it makes me cry. So I'm going to read a little piece from Megan Watterson's book, and I'll probably wrap it up, because I guess I let out a lot this morning in writing a good chunk of this. Yeah, that I just hope people start to appreciate the beauty in it and all of it. I mean, I still work out. I still want to I want to feel good. I want to feel confident in my body, because I love myself, and I want to make that apparent, that I take care of myself, and I have the awareness to balance the obsession with my appearance and know the difference between over-identifying with my body and then genuinely wanting to look and feel good because I love myself. And I do know that my body is sacred. And that's why I will never let anyone treat my body anything less than sacred. So that's all I have to say about that. All right. So I'm just going to dive into this random chapter here. It's called Why I Am Proud to Be Part Impala. And I know we're nearing the end of the 7 powers that Mary talks about in her gospel. And I've got 2 more episodes left. So we'll do the last power, and then my last episode on Mary Magdalene. I'm not sure what exactly I'll do and say, but it will be a surprise for everyone. I did actually cancel. I was going to go to her retreat, Megan Watterson's retreat, and I've canceled it because I just don't think I could learn anything more about Mary Magdalene and her gospel than I already have taught myself via this book and just via my own studies. So I'm not going to join the retreat, because this is not spirituality, and these concepts are not that new for me. I definitely will say that in the last few months, like after learning about her and seeing some key people in my life have this remembrance of the divinity of the feminine, and how the feminine really needs to come back into balance with the masculine collectively, and we need to be revered and held in absolute respect and love. I don't know what it's going to take. I really don't know what it's going to take to get people to understand this. Like I was thinking the other night, we haven't really evolved much. There is still a chunk of our species who are very animalistic and are not connected to their soul and are not connected to God. And that causes behavior that I can't even stomach. and that this continues to happen on a daily basis, what is it going to take for us to evolve into an awareness and a consciousness that isn't so animalistic in its ruthlessness and its selfishness is the only word that comes to mind. I watched Lori Ladd this morning, and her message was great and completely on point with what I'm witnessing and what I'm feeling. The people who are awakening right now, there's a bunch of people stuck in limbo between the battle internally, which is between the soul and the ego. And I've witnessed this in people I love, where they're almost completely different people when they're rooted in their heart and in their soul, and then when their ego takes over. And it's really, I think the closer you get to being liberated from the voice of the ego, the more resistance is going to come up in your body and in your mind. And this was spoke about in Buddhism as well. It's like the closer you get to living embodied within your soul and in connection to God and knowing who you are. And when I say who you are, like now I am so grounded and who I am. And I don't mean that from an ego identity perspective. I mean, like, I trust myself. I trust the voice within. Not this motherfucker up here. Not this one. This one in here. I trust this. And knowing I can trust that is life-changing. It's absolutely life-changing. But I will say this as well. Once you start trusting this and you start aligning, when you're in alignment with your soul, not only will you feel different, not only will you vibrate different, not only will people respond to you different, not only will you start to see how you can create your reality, knowing how to manipulate this energy for the good, for good. The people around you in your life that are not keeping up with you, I'm not saying like get them out of your life. I'm encouraging you to be so committed to your self-actualization that you truly belong to yourself, and no one's opinion around you is going to shake that. And if the people around you, if you do not deeply respect them and deeply admire them, they need to go. If they're bringing you down, they need to go. That's how ruthless you need to be to your evolution. Let them go with love, but let them go. You need to surround yourself with people who are at least at your level or slightly above if you want to keep going up. So for myself, I know I did not incarnate on this planet to be stuck at where I am right now. And I've already leveled up. And now that I've leveled up and I have felt it, I'm like, let's go. What's next? What's next? In terms of how can I surround myself with people who are going to lift me higher so I can create the exact life that I want to co-create with God, in integrity, in service, and leading from my heart and not my ego. What are you willing to sacrifice? Who are you willing to leave behind to get to where your heart knows, your soul knows God is guiding you to? Okay, that's enough out of me. I'm going to read this little snippet and then I'm going to sign off for today. And swipe left to show. I think I'm still going. Okay. Anyways, let's speed this up. All right. So what this sixth power has come to mean to me is that there is a reticence. I'm just going to say resistance. Resistance to change. A reluctance to do what we know is best for us. And we can feel this viscerally in the body. There is a sluggishness, a tendency toward inertia. If we are headed to the couch the second we get home from work, that routine will be arduous to break. The body becomes easily habituated, meaning the routines we create can become ingrained in us. The body is so loyal, and if we develop patterns of inaction, we will have to contend with a body that doesn't really want to do anything. The seventh power is the power we all probably understand and know most intimately. The seventh power in the Gospel of Mary is the wisdom of the wrathful person, or the compulsion of rage. It almost sounds like Christ or Mary, since Christ is the one who originally gave this list to Mary, is being sardonic. Sardonic? I don't know. Right? If this is a power of the ego, a power that keeps us from knowing our true self, then how could a wrathful person be wise? For me, similar to the power of lust or the realm of the flesh, anger is healing. To feel and express my anger feels healthy. Anger creates appropriate boundaries with people who aren't supporting us or who aren't good for us to be around. Anger can flood the system with a sense of clarity and purpose. We sometimes know what we stand for and what we care most about from the presence of anger. Anger protects us and often protects others we love and those who can't defend themselves. Anger, for anyone who has been silenced or made to feel insignificant, is a declaration that they actually matter, that their voice matters, that they are not to be silenced ever again. Anger in these situations is holy. Anger in the face of injustice is an act of love. It's a statement of unifying ourselves with a stranger in saying, I won't let you be treated as I would not want to be treated myself. Anger can be motivating and unifying. As the mystic William Blake relates, the voice of the honest indignation is the voice of God. And also, anger can devour us from the inside out. Anger can divide. It is so compelling, it can derail and distract many of us for most of our lives. And this is how I think we can best understand the destructive side of anger. It's simply when we get overcome by it. We can live in anger, or we can act on our anger in ways that we will regret then for the rest of our lives. As with all the powers, it isn't the power itself that's harmful. It's the presence of the power in the absence of the soul. It's forgetting entirely that we are not just the ego that is subject to the power. So even as we are more enraged than we have ever been, even if we have every right to be, and it's healthy and normal for us to be so angry, if we forget that there is this equally significant part of us that is calm, still water beneath it all, then we will inflict our rage onto someone else. And whether that person is undeserving of that rage or in our eyes deserving of it, all it does is blind us to that person and to perpetuate the cycle of rage. So I wanted to say that about rage, even though I'm going to be focusing on it next week. And I think, honestly, I probably should have read later in this book, in this chapter, because it talks about the trauma that lives in the body. But maybe I'll save that for next week, just to continue on a little bit of how important releasing these emotions and these traumas that our body so lovingly stores for us for our entire lives, how important it is to recognize it for the purpose that it serves. It's serving a purpose. Our emotions are serving a purpose. But when we identify with that one trauma or emotion, or, you know, the ways in which we've been wronged, when we identify with that instead of our soul that lies underneath it, then everything stored in the body is then running the show, running our whole lives. And that's what I've been so liberated by in my own self and my own body, is understanding how to release these traumas and these emotions, and then be so integrated inside my body that it becomes a healthy place to dwell and not a toxic place. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that for now. It's 51 minutes, something like that. I got to get back to my neighbor about her son. Love y'all. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.